American singer, rapper, and songwriter Nathaniel Hale Jr., professionally known as Nate Dogg, was born August 19, 1969, in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Music was a staple in his life growing up. He and his two siblings also sang in the children's choir at the Baptist church where his father was a minister. By the age of 14, his parents would divorce and Nate would move with his mother to Long Beach, California. There, he would meet rappers Warren G and Snoop Dogg when they attended the same high school. They bonded over their shared love of hip-hop, with Nate singing over Snoop and Warren's rhymes. When he was 17, he dropped out of high school and enlisted in the Marines. He served as an ammunition specialist for 3 years before being dishonorably discharged. Apparently, Nate wasn't down with being told what to do, and he kept leaving periodically without permission to go home. After he returned home for good, he hooked back up with Snoop and Warren. The duo had formed their own group where Snoop served as the rapper and Warren served as the DJ. They wanted to make the group a trio with Nate, naturally taking over the role of the singer of the group. They ended up calling themselves 213, the area code where they lived. They recorded a demo in the back of a local record store, and Warren made a point to always have it on him wherever he went. He ended up at a party one night that was thrown by his stepbrother, record producer Dr. Dre. Warren knew that was the perfect opportunity to play the tape for him, so he did. Dre invited all three to come to his studio, but when it was all said and done, he only offered Snoop a deal. Snoop felt bad about his boys being left out. However, Dre did end up bringing Nate into the fold by featuring him on his first solo album, 1992's The Chronic, as well as Snoop's debut album, 1993's Doggy Style. So what about Warren? Well, he ended up securing a deal with Def Jam. However, he reached out to Nate to help him with his debut single. Nate did just that by co-writing and singing on the hit Regulate. It reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and served as the breakout success for both artists. It was also featured on the soundtrack for the sports film Above the Rim.
Now they dropping and yelling, it's a tad bit late. Nate Dogg and Warren G had to regulate.
He also did another feature that year on Tupac's group Thug Life's album. Nate was on fire at this time, but Death Row continued to drag their feet when it came to putting out his own project. So, with no money coming in, Nate resorted to some illegal options to get paid. He was no gangbanger, but by the early 90s, he'd been arrested numerous times. He caught a case back in 1991 for the robbery of a check cashing company. Then, in 94, he was charged for a robbery of a Taco Bell, but was later acquitted. Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight later claimed that he spent $250,000 keeping Nate out of jail after he was caught on tape robbing the fast food restaurant multiple times. Nate then channeled all of his experiences and emotions into his first solo single, off Snoop Dogg's Murder Was the Case soundtrack album and short film in 1994 called One More Day. Over the next several years, Nate diligently worked on his debut album, but it was far from a joyful and stress-free experience. He increasingly felt threatened every time he set foot in the studio, so much so that he never went there without wearing a vest and carrying a strap. One well-known incident actually happened outside the studio. Death Row got into a major beef with rappers Dresta and his brother BG Knockout from Eazy-E's camp. Everything came to a head at the music video shoot for R&B singer Montel Jordan's single, Something for the Honeys. Nate took advantage of the opportunity to let it be known that he was not one to be played with when he unapologetically ran over BG Knockout's foot with a golf cart and then proceeded to bash Dresta over the head with a golf club. Later, all parties would squash the beef, and Nate and Dresta would even collaborate on a track together. In 1996, Nate was back on the wrong side of the law again when he was convicted of a drug offense in Los Angeles County. Towards the end of that year, Nate's first single off his debut album was released, called Never Leave Me Alone, featuring Snoop Dogg. The song made it into the top 40 on the Hot 100. Naturally, Nate believed that the release of his album would be soon to follow. That didn't happen, and at this point he was so fed up, he knew he had no other choice but to leave Death Row. In July 1998, with Breakaway Records, Nate finally released his debut album, which ended up being a double disc titled G-Funk Classics Volume 1 and 2. He was understandably upset that the album didn't end up doing as well as he had hoped. Nate Dogg would soon become a fixture in the West Coast hip-hop genre, sought after for being the king of hooks. He would work with a variety of artists such as Mos Def, Pharoah Monch, Fabulous, Eminem, 50 Cent, and Ludacris. Make no mistake, his services weren't cheap. Nate was making incredible money doing his thing, and with money comes an increase in the attention from the opposite sex. He would go on to father 9 children with several women. So he really did have hoes in different area codes, as he proclaimed on the Ludacris 2001 hit, Area Codes.
Whatever it is, they love it and they just won't let me be.
Those relationships, unfortunately, produced their fair share of drama. In 2000, he was arrested for allegedly kidnapping and assaulting a former girlfriend. The charges were eventually dismissed. By the following year, Nate had landed a new record deal with Elektra, and his follow-up album, Music and Me, would drop that December. It did far better than his debut, peaking at number 3 on the hip-hop albums chart. However, more legal drama would be on the horizon. In April 2002, Nate's tour bus got pulled over. The vehicle was searched and turned up a couple of pistols and several ounces of cannabis. He was booked and then released on bond. The next month, the weapon charges were dropped for his guilty plea on a drug charge, and he was sentenced to probation, community service, and drug counseling. Nate's final solo album, simply titled Nate Dogg, ended up being a victim of bootlegging and released without authorization in February 2003. Elektra did officially release it in digital format later on in the year. However, because they were getting ready to shut down their rap department, the album never received any quality promotion. Nate then decided it was time to reunite with his fellow 213 group members. The group's first and only studio album, titled The Hard Way, dropped in August 2004. It dominated the charts, reaching number 4 on the Billboard 200 and number 1 on the hip hop album chart. It was pretty safe to assume by now that no amount of career success was going to keep Nate on the straight and narrow. In July 2006, he was charged with misdemeanor aggravated trespassing, battery assault, dissuading a witness, and violating a restraining order. Allegedly, this all stemmed from him wanting to get back a very expensive 4-carat diamond ring he had given to his ex-fiancée. The day Nate went to her home to retrieve it, he apparently got into a physical fight with her boyfriend. He would plead guilty to aggravated trespassing and battery charges and be sentenced to 3 years of informal probation and ordered to complete a domestic violence battery treatment program. Nate moved on and began dating actress Tamala Jones. Their short-term relationship would crash and burn because of radio DJ turned TV talk show host Wendy Williams. Nate did a radio interview with her where he mentioned wanting to marry Tamala. Wendy took that moment to trash talk her to Nate, even though she'd never even met Tamala. He took what Wendy said at face value, and their relationship never recovered. Then, in 2007, Nate was driving with his girlfriend when they were involved in a horrible car accident. The vehicle even flipped over several times. He refused to stay at the hospital to complete treatment for his many serious injuries and checked out to go do a show in Las Vegas. Even though Nate survived the car wreck, the decision to leave the hospital prematurely would prove to be deadly. Nate had a problem with alcohol and lived a fast lifestyle. The people around him were familiar with his wasted alter ego he called Buddy Love. When Buddy Love came out, everyone knew to run for cover. He continued drinking during this time while also suffering from hypertension. Several months later, in December, Nate would suffer the first of a series of strokes. After a week in hospital, he entered a rehabilitation facility. Unbelievably, when his friend Snoop Dogg came to visit, he noticed a bottle of Hennessy under his bed. Although his body's left side was partially paralyzed, neither his cognition nor voice were affected. After Nate left the facility, he decided to get back in touch with his gospel roots, to provide music that his parents would feel comfortable listening to. So, he formed a gospel choir called In Nate Praise. In the summer of 2008, Nate quietly married his girlfriend, LaToya Calvin. However, she filed for divorce just a few weeks later. Even though the relationship had now ended, the drama between them continued. Nate would be arrested after chasing his estranged wife down a Los Angeles freeway. She also relayed to the 911 dispatcher that he'd also made death threats against her. He was charged with 2 counts of criminal threats and 1 count of stalking, all felonies. He pleaded not guilty, and the charges were dropped. That same year, Nate suffered a second massive stroke. This time, it would produce devastating results. He ended up on life support and became paralyzed from the neck down, unable to walk or speak. On March 15, 2011, Nathaniel Hale Jr., aka Nate Dogg, died from complications from multiple strokes. He was 41 years old. Nate's family, along with Snoop Dogg, Warren G, Dr. Dre, and many other friends and colleagues, plus over 1,000 fans, paid their respects at his funeral the following week.
Times are different now, but you'll still get stuck. I'm not a kid no more, I just don't give a fuck. So if you're thinking about coming and stepping to me, keep this in mind, I'm a motherfucking OG. I'm out.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and comment. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you won't miss any future videos. See you next time.